For most professional athletes, a scuffle that ends in an ejection and a fine is a forgettable footnote, the kind of moment that shows up in a transaction report and disappears by the next game. For Sophie Cunningham, it became the opening chapter of a financial transformation that outpaced almost anything she had built across 7 years of professional basketball. The story starts not with a business plan, but with a teammate getting hurt on the court, and a decision made in less than a second. Cunningham arrived in Indianapolis ahead of the 2025 season, traded from the Phoenix Mercury after 5 years there. She joined a fever roster built around Caitlin Clark, the most scrutinized rookie the league had ever produced, and she stepped into a locker room that was still figuring out how to handle the attention that came with her. Clark's rookie year in 2024 had already exposed a pattern that frustrated players, coaches, and fans alike. Officials were consistently slow to call fouls on the contact directed at her, even as opposing teams treated her like a target. That pattern didn't go away in year 2. In a May loss to the New York Liberty, Clark was shoved on the final play of the game without a whistle, and she and Cunningham both voiced their frustration to the referees as time expired. The tension had been building for months before it finally boiled over. It happened on June 17 in a home game against the Connecticut Sun at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Indiana was cruising to a comfortable win, the kind of blowout that usually fades quietly into the record book. In the third quarter, Sun guard J.C. Sheldon poked Clark in the eye while Clark was trying to pass the ball. Clark grabbed her face and turned on Sheldon, and the two shoved each other as teammates rushed in. In the chaos that followed, Sun guard Marina Mabrey shoved Clark to the floor. When the officials sorted through it, Sheldon's foul was upgraded to a flagrant after review, and technicals were handed out to Clark, Mabrey, and Sun forward Tina Charles. Cunningham and Sheldon already had history between them. Contact between the two earlier in the season had left Cunningham with a chipped front tooth, something she'd later joke about publicly before turning it into a genuine grievance on her podcast. With less than a minute left in a game Indiana had already won, Sheldon drove into the lane. Cunningham pulled her down by the head. Sheldon and Sun guard Lindsey Allen shoved Cunningham back into the fans along the baseline, and Cunningham grabbed Sheldon's hair as the fight escalated into a full scrum that required coaches and staff to separate both benches. Cunningham was ejected for a flagrant 2. So were Sheldon and Allen, both hit with technicals for fighting. The league followed up with a fine for the flagrant foul, and a second fine on top of that for her role in the fight itself. Cunningham later said the total came out to something like $900. On paper, that should have been the end of it. Instead, it was the beginning. Clips of the takedown spread across every major social platform within hours, and Cunningham's following on Instagram and TikTok surged past 1 million within days, driven by fans who had never followed women's basketball closely but were captivated by a teammate who was visibly done watching the officials let things slide. 4 days later, speaking to reporters ahead of a road game against the Las Vegas Aces, Cunningham made clear she had no regrets. She said the extracurricular activity was just part of the game, and pointed the blame squarely at the officials, describing years of buildup around a league that, in her view, had failed to protect its most important player. She said flatly that she was going to protect her teammates, because that's what she does. The league didn't back off either. When Cunningham posted a TikTok criticizing the officiating, she was fined again, reportedly around $500. It did nothing to quiet her. If anything, the second fine became part of the story fans were already telling about her. A player willing to eat a fine to say what she actually thought, in a league that a lot of viewers felt had been avoiding hard conversations about consistency and player protection for years. Corporate interest followed the attention almost immediately. Within weeks, Cunningham announced a partnership with Ring, the home security company, built around a tagline that wrote itself. On the court, she protects her team. At home, Ring protects her. It was the kind of fit that marketing teams dream about, a persona that had been created almost entirely by a single on-court decision. More deals followed in quick succession: Adidas, Arby's, Quest Nutrition, and eventually a men's grooming brand and a boating company, expanding a portfolio that had barely existed a few months earlier. Cunningham also drew attention outside basketball entirely, appearing as a guest of UFC president Dana White at a UFC event in Las Vegas. Walking as an octagon girl for one of the night's fights, by late July, Cunningham had signed a podcast deal with The Volume, the digital media company founded by Colin Cowherd. The show, called Show Me Something, paired her with Wes Wilson from Bravo's Summer House, and it gave her a regular platform to say things she couldn't say in a locker room or a post-game scrum. On the podcast, she went further than she had with reporters, revealing that during Clark's rookie season, her old team in Phoenix had explicitly talked about needing to toughen the rookie up, treating physical contact as an initiation rather than a foul. Cunningham said that once she was on Clark's side of that equation, watching teams try to do the same thing to her teammate, she found it excessive. She didn't hide her frustration, and the show became another outlet for the same message she'd been delivering all season. Officiating in this league had a consistency problem, and someone needed to say so out loud. The momentum carried through most of the summer, but it hit a real setback on August 17, in a game against the same Connecticut Sun team that had been at the center of the June brawl. Cunningham slid down to provide help defense and collided with Sun guard Bria Hartley, who fell into her right knee. She had to be helped off the floor. An MRI 2 days later confirmed a torn MCL, and the Fever ruled her out for the rest of the 2025 season. She underwent surgery and was expected to make a full recovery, but for a traditional athlete, a season-ending injury during a career-best stretch is usually the kind of setback that slows everything down. Sponsorships, visibility, negotiating leverage, all of it, that's not quite what happened here. Cunningham stayed active on her podcast throughout her recovery, and she was candid about the injury without turning it into a tragedy. She said if she had to hurt her knee, that was about as good an outcome as she could ask for, and she credited the organization and her teammates with keeping her spirits up. Her mother posted a message on social media criticizing Hartley for the collision, and Cunningham asked her to take it down, saying she didn't believe there was any intent behind the play and that she and Hartley were actually close. The real financial turning point came months later, in November, once her season was already behind her. Cunningham signed with Project B, a new international women's basketball league planning to run tournament-style events across Asia and Europe starting in late 2026. The deal was worth more than $2 million, with an additional equity stake in the league itself. That figure was more than 8 times the WNBA's supermax salary of roughly $250,000, and it dwarfed the $100,000 salary she'd earned with the Fever that same year. She signed the deal at a pointed moment for the league she'd spent her whole career in. The WNBA's collective bargaining talks had stalled, with no resolution in sight and real uncertainty about what the following season would even look like. Speaking to Front Office Sports before the deal became official, Cunningham was blunt about the state of things, describing ongoing uncertainty around the labor talks, and admitting she wasn't sure there would even be a season. Asked directly whether she'd consider a payday like the one Project B was offering, her answer was simple: if people are willing to pay multi-million-dollar deals, why wouldn't you take one? None of this came from chasing a highlight reel or angling for a marketing campaign. It came from a single decision made with the clock winding down in a game that was already decided, a decision to grab a driving guard by the head because Cunningham had decided she was done watching her teammate get hit without consequences. Everything after that, the surge in followers, the ring deal, the podcast, the UFC appearance, the equity stake in a brand new global league, traces back to that one moment and the year of unfiltered honesty that followed it. She never softened her message about the officiating, never walked back her criticism of the league office, and never stopped saying exactly what she thought about how her teammate was being treated on the court. For a fan base that had spent a full season venting about inconsistent officiating, and a league office that seemed more interested in managing optics than fixing the actual problem, Cunningham became something rare. A player willing to say out loud what a lot of people were already thinking, and one who kept saying it even after the league tried to fine her into silence. Heading into 2026, Cunningham re-signed with the Fever on a new one-year deal reported in the $600,000 range, choosing to return to Indianapolis even as her outside income from Project B, endorsements, and media work pushed her total earnings well past anything she'd made in her first 7 WNBA seasons combined. It's a career arc that would have been hard to predict at the start of 2025. A veteran role player who spent 5 seasons in Phoenix without much national attention, who became one of the most recognizable personalities in the sport not by changing her game, but by refusing to change her personality once the cameras started paying attention. The foul that got her ejected cost her a few $100s. Everything it set in motion afterward has been worth more than 100 times that, and by her own account, she'd make the same decision again without hesitation.